Hello, and thanks for watching the Pharmacy Cannabis Lecture Series. My name is Candace Hawes, and I want to thank everyone for spending time with us today, whether you found us on the internet or whether you're a customer from the Pottery, Pharmacy Santa Ana, Santa Barbara, or Berkeley. Every episode, we try to deliver a small and in-depth information about cannabis. Today, we're going to talk about cannabis transdermal and topical products, which is something I get asked about at dispensaries quite often. The external use of cannabis dates back thousands of years and still remains a very popular method for people looking to treat a myriad of ailments. Working with new cannabis patients and customers daily, I'm aware that many don't know about the difference between traditional topicals and transdermal products. So today we're diving in and we'll learn how each external method works, the ingredients, and the correct application methods. I'm a really big fan of Mary's Medicinals, so when I thought about discussing this topic, Mary's Medicinals and Allie's was the first people to come to mind, so I'm really glad that they can join us today. Allie's been working in the industry for 8 years with Mary's Medicinals. She began working in the regulated cannabis market over a decade ago in Denver and now lives in the Bay Area. As Mary's Medicinals national educator, she thrives on curating a higher caliber of cannabis knowledge and is passionate about all plant medicines. Mary's Medicinals is the industry leader in high quality and effective cannabis-derived products. They believe in distilling the wisdom of plants to help people reach the full potential of their bodies, minds, and lives. Their expert scientists collaborate with some of the top physicians to develop innovative cannabis therapies to allow people to take control of their own wellness through highly targeted, results-driven methods. Thank you so much for being with us today, Allie.
Thank you so much for having me, Candace, and all you viewers out there. Thank you for joining me again for another lecture.
Yeah, I love using topicals and transdermals. A lot of people lump the two together and they don't really understand the differences. And sometimes they might be using one and they can really benefit from the other method. So that's why I'm really glad that we can discuss this today and give people further information about transdermal and topicals and also about Mary's Medicinals.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Candace. So for those of you who may not be familiar with our brand, Mary's Medicinals is a powerhouse wellness brand that was founded in Denver almost 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And like Candace mentioned, we do produce in quite a few markets. So you can actually find Mary's Medicinals products in 9 states, California, Colorado, Nevada, Michigan, Illinois, Oklahoma, Missouri, which is our latest state, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Maryland. And I'm hoping I named all those, but all of that information is on the Mary's Medicinals website, very clearly laid out. So if you're curious if Mary's is in your state or possibly coming soon to your state, that information is there for you. So moving forward. So Mary's is such a special brand. Like Candace mentioned, I've worked for this company. I actually just hit my 8th year with this brand. I use these products. I love these products. I stand behind these products, which makes my job so enjoyable, which I'm grateful for. And we really are a different type of brand, not only in just the wellness space of cannabis, but really in the entire cannabis arena. Mary's really is different. And where we've really kind of set ourselves apart is the infusion of science while also honoring all that the cannabis plant has to offer. So we, from the get-go as a brand, we always have really believed that we've seen the power of cannabis and all of the different plant elements. And we really do believe that cannabis is something that people and other creatures should be using on a regular basis, just like vitamins, just like exercise and a healthy diet. So we really wanted to create a product line that is optimal for people that are using cannabis. So creating products that are optimal for regimen users. And with that, we have unique delivery methods, which we'll talk about. We've always focused on a lot of the minor cannabinoids, so things like CBN, CBG, THCA, and have really put these in very user-friendly, familiar, but also more efficient delivery methods. So I'm excited to talk to you guys more about this as we move through. And, kind of with that, we really have always been a patient or a user focused brand. These products are designed with all of you in mind. We've thought about cost, we've thought about tolerance, we've thought about longevity of regimen, and we've really, wanted to create products that truly are impacting lives, and really doing the work. So yes. So just to kind of get some vocabulary for this section. So when we're talking about delivery methods, we're basically talking about different types of cannabis products. So of course, we have the transdermals and the topicals, which we'll be talking about. We have consumable products, which would be something like a sublingual tincture, an edible product, or a capsule. And then you have inhalable products, which would encompass flower or just traditional smoking your weed, cartridges, and also concentrate. So also known as dabbing for some folks out there. All right. So Candace, so right now we're going to get into kind of the meat of our lecture, which is talking about the differences between transdermal and topical products. And interestingly, this is actually there's not just confusion in the cannabis space. In, the real world, there's also confusion with this topic. So most people, understand that these two delivery methods have something to do with the skin, which is totally correct. But ultimately, when we're talking about it in the context of cannabis, there's some super, super important game-changing differences between the two. So, Candace, I'm going to have you play that video right now. It's a really cool animation that we put together that really awesomely illustrates how this works. So, all right, go ahead.
Oftentimes, transdermal products are mistakenly grouped into the topical category. While both topical and transdermal cannabis products are applied to the skin, there are significant differences. Cannabinoids as molecules are too large to permeate beyond the skin, which explains why traditional topicals should not cause any psychotropic effects or fail THC drug screens. Transdermal cannabis products, which Mary's Medicinals pioneered, contain what are called carrier agents, which allow cannabinoids to absorb beyond the outer layer of skin and pass through into the bloodstream for a systemic or whole body effect. Unless there are transdermal carrier ingredients specifically formulated in a cannabis product, a topical will only be skin deep. Topicals have limited reach and thus a limited effect on deeper rooted issues. Mary's transdermal patches and transdermal gel pens should be applied on the inner wrist or top of the foot for best access into the bloodstream. These products provide a whole body effect rather than spot specific. Using these delivery methods is equivalent to smoking or eating edibles, meaning Mary's transdermal THC products will produce a psychotropic effect. Mary's patches onset in about 30 minutes and last between 8 and 12 hours, while the gel pens quickly uptake in about 5 and 15 minutes and have a 3 to 6 hour duration. The muscle freeze is a true topical, meaning it will be better for providing immediate benefits closer to the skin, like muscle aches and tightness, sunburn, insect bites, and more. This product should be applied locally to discomforted areas. Mary's transdermal compound, our fan favorite product, is a topical transdermal hybrid. The best of both worlds, the compound can transdermally permeate deep enough to reach connective tissues and joints by being applied spot-specifically on the area in need of deeper relief.
Awesome. Thank you, Candace. So I'm going to break all of that down for us now. But I love the animation of that video, and I think it's just to visually see when we're talking about the stratum corneum or the skin. So cannabinoids as molecules, so most of them, THC, CBD, CBN, THCA, CBG, they're big molecularly. And the skin, as a function of our body, is designed to protect our inner body, our blood, our organs from those things, from bigger things. So cannabinoids, basically our skin, the dermis and the epidermis, essentially act as like a stopgap for cannabinoids. So traditional topical products, which the majority of the products you'll see in dispensaries in this format are traditional topicals. there is no chance of those cannabinoids permeating deep enough that they will break the blood-brain barrier or enter the bloodstream for any kind of systemic or intoxicating effect. And so that means there's no risk of it getting you high, and there's also no risk of a true topical product causing any kind of failed drug screen. So Mary's was the first brand almost 10 years ago, again, to ever research and develop transdermal cannabis. So these products they're modeled after traditional pharmaceutical cannabis products. So these actually contain special ingredients called transdermal carriers that push those cannabinoids, not just the 2 layers of a topical, but 7 to 10 layers. So they actually are able to either break the blood-brain barrier and enter the bloodstream, like with Mary's transdermal patches and transdermal gel pens, or like with our transdermal compound line, the cannabinoids are able to, again, permeate that 7 to 10 layers to potentially reach those deeper rooted issues. So reaching joints for arthritis, reaching nerve issues. So for things like spasms, neuropathy, nerve damage, nerve pain, menstrual cramps, reaching deeper to get those incredible anti-inflammatory, regenerative properties deeper into the body where folks tend to really need that type of relief. Okay. So this is a big one. And so topicals and transdermal products may not always appear different. We could literally have our transdermal compound, which is a balm, look just like another brand of balm, but one contains those transdermal carrier ingredients and one doesn't. So if most brands like Mary's will actually put transdermal onto the product to differentiate, but just something good to know. And just also, knowing that you can't always assume that something is just topical or just transdermal. It's definitely a question that you want to be investigating, whether that's on the product itself, asking, a knowledgeable bud tender at one of the glasshouse locations. It's really important to understand because transdermal cannabis products can totally get you high.
Yeah.
Most of the Mary's transdermal products are utilizing minor cannabinoids that typically don't have an intoxicating effect, but we do offer certain products that are transdermal where their intent is the intoxicating effect. So it's so important to understand whether something has the ability to get into your bloodstream and cause that intoxication, as well as the drug testing factor. There are, of course, certain occupations or certain folks that that can't deal with a failed drug screen. So it's, of course, important to understand what products present those risks and which ones don't.
That's a good point.
Yes, exactly. So again, we use actually each one of our products, each one of our transdermal products varies just slightly in this, but we use different types of transdermal carrier ingredients to allow for that deeper permeation of cannabinoids and the terpenes in our products than traditional products. So that's really it in a nutshell with that. So there are benefits of both types of products. So with topicals, you never have that risk of intoxication. You never have the risk of any kind of systemic effect. So topicals can be a really nice kind of entryway into cannabis, especially if you have friends or family that maybe haven't used cannabis or were kind of like, roll over from the reefer madness generation, but could really benefit from cannabis. Topicals are a really great risk-free way of kind of entering people into that space. And as we mentioned, all topical products are going to be safe for drug testing. There's never any risk of those cannabinoids, particularly THC, getting deep enough to trigger a failed drug test. We have a ton of endocannabinoid receptors on our skin, and our skin being the biggest organ we have. The amount of endocannabinoid receptors, topical products can be incredibly beneficial for skin. So, skin issues like psoriasis, eczema, scars, things like that, hyperpigmentation. There's such an opportunity and such potential kind of in that skin field with cannabis, even easing things like insect bites, sunburn, stuff like that. So this presentation is definitely not to deter anybody from using topicals or transdermals. They both really have an incredible set of benefits there. And so just included some real world examples here. So lip balm, body lotion, hydrocortisone cream, and topicals can also be really good for kind of superficial stuff like aches, pain, tension, tightness. We have a really incredible topical called our Muscle Freeze, and we actually designed it for athletes. So athletes dealing with like pulled muscles, tight shoulders, tight things like that. So again, just lots of ways to use all of these types of products. And then the benefits of transdermals, of course, that deeper permeation, with our transdermal balm, or it's called our transdermal compound, it can reach deep enough ligaments, connective tissues, and joints. Or if you're going the route of the transdermal patches and gels, you actually get a true systemic delivery with it. Transdermal cannabis is better absorbing than other delivery methods, which I will get into here in a little bit. And using cannabinoids, using cannabis transdermally, you actually get a much more stable effect than you do from using cannabis, via inhaling or consuming an edible. And then you can obviously experience intoxicating effects through the skin as well, which a lot of people, when they learn that, think it's pretty freaking cool. So, and some real world examples would be fentanyl patches, nicotine patches, and there's this popular pharmaceutical called Speed Gel RX, which is actually like a transdermal gel type of thing. All right, cool. I love to see all these people from all over the world popping in. This is so awesome.
Yeah. And I'll say just a quick note on that is that I love using topicals for bug bites. It's that time of season right now, and it lowers the inflammation and it stops the irritation and the itch. So definitely really helpful to have both for like different instances. If you're a person that deals with pain, or you just have loved ones around that they're always dealing from different things. It's nice to have both and being able to figure out like, what are you dealing with today? Which one is more appropriate, but they both definitely have their uses, like you said.
Yeah, I actually use our Muscle Freeze for mosquito bites, and it is like night and day for that itchiness. So I am from the Midwest originally, and I do not travel home in the summertime without my Muscle Freeze for that very reason. So can totally relate, Candace. All right, so this is actually kind of touching on the first lecture series I did with Glass House, but it's really an important kind of aspect to this topic. And so just to kind of refresh, bioavailability is a subject that's not just applicable to cannabis. Bioavailability is something that we talk about when we're talking about drugs and substances in general. And it talks about how much of the substance actually makes it into our bloodstream or makes it into our body so that it can actually take an effect. And so I thought it was really kind of cool to bring the two concepts together, and to really just kind of look at the data laid out. And so, because topical cannabinoids will not have any opportunity to break beyond the skin, they have 0% bioavailability. There's no absorption actually body from a topical. Whereas with Mary's transdermal patches and transdermal gel pens, we have between 70 to 80% bioavailability. So it's significant when you're actually kind of putting them next to each other. And then what I also thought was really cool was to kind of look at the transdermal bioavailability compared to other delivery methods. So we're talking about edibles only having about 10% bioavailability, flower and cartridges and concentrates only about 20%. MCT oil sublinguals on the far right there only having about 15%. You can really see, not only do Mary's other products have higher bioavailability, but those patches and gels having 70 to 80%, just in general, transdermal delivery has some of the highest bioavailability. And really, and when we're talking about the products that are actually available for consumer use on the market, they do have the highest bioavailability of anything out there.
Really
And
the best bang for the
bioavailability,
buck.
yeah, exactly. And really kind of when we're talking about bioavailability, in a consumer sense or a user sense, when you have products that have higher bioavailability or better cannabinoid absorption in this case, not only can you start with a lower dosage of that type of product, but you can also maintain at a lower dosage of that type of product. So that's really where this whole idea of creating an optimal product line for regimen users really comes into play. Because of the way that we have designed, the ways that we've designed our products, there's no other brand and no other products out there that really cater to these everyday or regimen users of cannabis. Because by having these better absorbing products, you're able to keep your tolerance low and also keep the cost of your regimen much more stable. The low bioavailability of edible products and inhalable products, that right there explains why, if anybody out there is one of those regular users of edibles or inhalable products, that is why you have to consistently increase your dosage of those products just to get the same baseline effect. So purely based on the delivery method, the tolerance is building that much quicker. And in turn, cost of the regimen is also raising steadily as well. And I think it's so important to ask the question, kind of looking at my regimen, if I'm somebody that's using higher bioavailability products and only needs 20 milligrams of cannabinoids a day, or am I somebody that uses edibles and I'm up to hundreds of milligrams a day, based on that, how much more cannabis is it going to take to remedy a flare up? And, whether that's something more measurable, like throwing out your back, or something like a mental health day that's harder to quantify, either way, if you're using such a high dose regimen, you're going to need a lot more cannabis to actually get your ECS to react the way that you need it to remedy that flare up. And so there are so many benefits to using a better bioavailability regimen. And there's actually even studies out of Israel that show that that minimally stimulating our endocannabinoid systems on a regular basis, rather than overloading with higher potency, higher concentration products, the lower doses on a daily basis actually produce better long-term effects for pain. So we subscribe to that methodology, and also put that in a better absorbing product so that you can continue at that low dose regimen. So that's really
that's really interesting. That's actually really, really helpful information too, because you're right. A lot of people do deal with that when they've been using cannabis for months or sometimes years and years. They do have that problem of having the tolerance that keeps up creeping up and up and up and having to spend more and more on cannabis. So you have to look at these. A lot of people don't know about bioavailability. So it's great that you pointed that out, and then they can take that into consideration. What is the best way to get the cannabis into their system to keep the cost the lowest?
Right. Exactly. And you run into these people, and of course, I know Candace and I, we probably may run into them a little bit more when we're talking about dispensary staffs. But a lot of people will say, like, I don't get high anymore, or I don't feel cannabis anymore. It's this exact reasoning. So, all right, awesome. So getting into the products for you guys. So we have an incredible product line at Mary's. And again, like Candace mentioned, this is the California product line, but in terms of the Mary's suite, most of our other markets have the majority of these products as well. So feel free, if you have any specific product questions, feel free to shoot them over to me. So our flagship product are our transdermal patches. And so this right here is just the packaging itself. There was a picture of the patch earlier, in case anybody missed it, there is for you guys. And that one. Here we go. Okay. Ooh, ooh. All right. Perfect. So the patches, they're a little 2x2 square, and these are systemic. So most people kind of have this gut instinct to put Mary's patches where they might need relief, more like those icy hot patches that you can grab at Walgreens. But these patches are very intentionally meant to be put on certain areas of the body so that the cannabinoids can best absorb into the bloodstream. And so cannabinoids are lipids, they're fats. That's why we see cannabis typically in oil format. And because fats actually attract to other fats, if you were to take a Mary's patch or the transdermal gel pen that I'll touch on next, and if you were to put them on, say, your belly for Crohn's or IBS symptoms or menstrual symptoms, your shoulder for shoulder cramps or shoulder pain, the cannabinoids and the terpenes in this product would actually just absorb into the fat in that area of the body, and they really won't have very much of an effect. So the transdermal patches and the gel pens are meant to be applied on areas of the body that have thin skin, a lot of veins, and very little fat. So inside of the wrist, the top of the foot, or the back of the knee are going to be the 3 areas that we suggest for using these products. So it doesn't matter if you did throw out your back raking leaves or you are having a mental health day, it's always going to be one of those 3 areas to actually get the best absorption and the best effect. So the patches only take about 15 to 30 minutes to onset for most people. So relatively quick in the grand scheme of cannabis onsets. But really where they shine is they're an 8 to 12 hour time release dose of cannabis. So they are one of, if not the longest lasting cannabis product on the market. They can be worn day or night. We have consistently innovated this product over the years so that the adhesive is better. So they are heat, sweat, and water resistant. So you can shower with these, you can exercise with these, you can swim with these, and they'll continue to stay on and dispense the cannabis at that time release. But also the adhesive doesn't leave that leaf behind like even some Band-Aids can do. So it really is an incredible blend. They are Band-Aid colored currently. And they do have the ability to be cut down and microdosed. And when you do that, you're actually only cutting the dosage down, but keeping the time frame. Because of that really strong bioavailability of the patches, even though Mary's patches are only 20 or 30 milligrams, most people benefit from only a quarter of a Mary's patch. So typically when you buy one of these, you can use it 4 times, which is awesome, which again speaks to who we are as a brand by having these more impactful delivery methods to be able to use less and spend less. So we have quite a few patches, which is awesome. This is only page 1 of 2. So I won't go too in-depthly into each one, but we do have an incredible, our most popular patch is the 1-to-1 CBD to THC. And what is so interesting about this one is a 1-to-1 CBD to THC ratio in any other delivery method, other than a topical, would actually cause an intoxicating effect. So a 1-to-1 edible, a 1-to-1 sublingual, 1-to-1 cartridge, 1-to-1 flower, all of those would get you high. But a 1-to-1 ratio in a transdermal patch does not. And so what I was mentioning earlier about transdermal products having a much more stable effect, this demonstrates it perfectly, because when we swallow THC, so it's delta-9 THC is the name of the molecule that we know and love. And so when we swallow delta-9 THC, our stomach manipulates it, our liver manipulates it. And so oftentimes that's why edible products, you can get that kind of roller coaster effect where, you feel pretty high, and then you kind of come down, and then you can even kind of come back up and come back down again. And so there's a lot of just variability with edible products because simply the THC is being swallowed and basically kind of like pinballed through our organs, for lack of a better analogy there. But when we use THC transdermally, because we skip first pass metabolism, aka our stomach, the delta 9 THC stays delta 9 THC. So when you have this ratio, the 1-to-1 CBD to THC, you actually get the true balance where you have the benefit of both cannabinoids, but you have the CBD negating the intoxicating effect of THC. So that's why I believe it's our most popular patch, because you really do get the distraction from THC benefit while also getting the anti-inflammatory benefit from CBD, among others, but without getting that high. So it's a phenomenal way to kind of medicate for mood, for pain, spasms, such a wide array of issues there for that reason.
This is actually the one that I use. I like this 1-to-1 patch as well. And I'm a daily user of cannabis. Sometimes I'll throw my neck out or my back out, and I just use a quarter. Just like you mentioned, I use a quarter. And I never really had been told what you just explained about how transdermally you don't get high. But thinking back, I used them during the daytime when I was at work, and I didn't get any effect at all, any high effect at all. So that makes complete sense. And I really do back this product as well. And you can, wear it, like you said, doing dishes, everything, and it stays on really well.
Yeah. I love throwing either this 1-to-1 or the THCA, which is on the far right. Like if I just don't have the best night of sleep, and I'm on the road most days for work, so I need to have energy and be alert. So I'll always throw either one of those on, or sometimes both. And it always just kind of like improves my state of mind and definitely keeps me more focused and in a better space. So we also have I call them practically pure CBD patches. Sometimes they'll have tiny traces of THC, but never enough to elicit any kind of intoxicating effect. We have CBN patches. Most people do know CBN is kind of the sleep cannabinoid. However, CBN has such an incredible array of daytime benefits as well. And this product in particular offers that versatility. We have a lot of people that will use a larger dose, perhaps like a full CBN patch to use it for sleep. But we'll also have people use a quarter of a CBN patch to assist with spasmodic related issues. So things like menstrual cramps, Tourette's, epilepsy, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. It's also, CBN is a phenomenal analgesic, more of a painkiller than CBD, which generally is anti-inflammatory. So there's just a lot of versatility when you have these cannabinoids in a slow, even time release format. So that really is another great benefit. THCA, amazing for nausea and vomiting, such a great clarity inducer. I love that one for daytime so much. I feel like THCA is the unsung hero of cannabinoids. And then we have indica and sativa patches, which these ones, they will get you high. So it's just going to feel different than using THC in an inhalable where you get that big effect up front and the tapering off relatively quickly. And it's going to be different than that edible roller coaster. With the indica and sativa patches, you get that THC effect, but you really get the therapeutic dose of it, where you get that even slow release of THC for 8 to 12 hours. THC has so many other benefits than just getting high. It's phenomenal for appetite stimulation. It is incredible as a distraction from pain. It can be great for certain types of neurological conditions. So there are a ton of ways to use the indica and sativa patches, or especially with the holidays coming up, we all have, some of us have families that maybe aren't too keen on cannabis, or maybe you feel like you need cannabis to get through, but you don't want to smell like cannabis or have kind of like maybe get a little too medicated from edibles. So the indica and sativa patches could be such a cool, discreet way to be medicating on the low.
Yeah, definitely low pro.
Low profile. They don't smell like cannabis or look like cannabis. You don't see any oil. It literally just looks like a square Band-Aid on your foot or your wrist. We focus on CBG in a patch as well. CBG is kind of a newer to the market cannabinoid. Also non-intoxicating, but so good for mental health, GI inflammation. CBG is just like, it's known as the mother cannabinoid, and it is just that. So we also, we have our extra strength patch here on the end called our formula patch, which has a stronger potency, 3 different cannabinoids, as well as different terpenes. So the formula patch definitely is one that typically will cause an intoxicating effect. You can definitely use this one for sleep. You could use this one for more severe pain, cancer-related pain, fibromyalgia, really just the extra strength version of our flagship products.
That's so cool. I love that you pointed out when you were talking about transdermals about not only does it have to be like a thin venous area of the skin, but it can't be an area with a lot of fat. That's a great clarifying point, because I knew all the other 3, but I didn't know about that. And I actually had a friend who was in a nursing home and they didn't allow her to have any cannabis. So I got her some Mary's patches, but she was worried about where to place them. I actually told her to put it like on her breast. But now, like, hearing what you said about like the fat area, I wonder if maybe that probably wasn't the best place to put it, even though it was like thin venous. There was a lot of fat in that area.
Yeah, you want to avoid fat. You really just want to find the area that's like packed with veins.
Yeah.
And we actually, we unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but there is an amendment, and I think it's a law now in Colorado. I think it's called Jack's Law, or Jack's Amendment, and Jack had cerebral palsy and dystonia, and he really benefited from using our CBN patches while he was at school, because it really helped with his outbursts and his ability to focus. And so there actually was a law passed in Colorado, because Jack was at first prohibited from using any kind of cannabis, including wearing transdermal patches. And so it helped really kind of pave the way for pediatric cannabis patients to be able to use cannabis in schools in Colorado. So
this actually would be a really good method for a child that needs cannabis during the daytime. The fact that it's long lasting, it's discreet. I'm so glad that they passed that law in California, and they just passed something similar in Colorado. Glad they passed in Colorado, and they just passed something similar in California too.
Awesome. That's so good to know. All right. So I kind of went over all of this, so I'll skip that. But you do just want to make sure the area of skin is clean under the patches, nothing surgical. Soap and water will totally suffice. The transdermal gel pen. This is a really cool product. It actually is the very first patented cannabis product in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And it actually is for the cannabis delivery method itself. So this is similar to the patches in that it is a systemic transdermal, but instead of a patch, it's like a cream or kind of a lotion consistency, and it only has a 5 to 10 minute onset. So this is, you can pump it on any one of those 3 body parts, but the wrist is definitely easiest because you can pump it on one wrist, rub it into the other, and it absorbs very, very quickly, only about 3 seconds, and nothing greasy or green or nothing staining your clothes. But because it works so quickly, it can be a phenomenal delivery method to use for folks that suffer from any kind of acute issues. So whether that's like a migraine onsetting, any kind of, suddenly onsetting pain, I think I already said migraines. Quickly escalating anxiety or panic attacks, things like that. Folks that are waking up in the middle of the night, we have a CBN gel pen that you can use to kind of help quickly, get you back to sleep. So there's a lot of different options. I am always in San Francisco at like 4:30, so I keep a CBD gel pen in my car to help quell my traffic anxiety. So lots of different ways to use it. They smell really nice. There's 50 doses in each gel pen, so you get a nice long last in there. So we have indica and sativa, CBD, and CBN gel pens.
They remind me of an EpiPen, so it's like a rescue pen.
They do kind of look like an EpiPen, and it's not. I always, like, when I'm doing trainings in person, I always show the inside of the pen because people think that it's like a roll-on or that it is an EpiPen. There's no needles, no roller balls. It's just like a little hole where the gel pumps out of, and the other end of the pen. Okay, maybe I'll try to draw on here. this end of the pen right here, you pump it, and it's a metered dose pump when you pump it out, and it's like a pea-sized amount that comes out, so it's really easy to work with for sure.
How much would you say that you need to constitute a full dose? Would it be like a pump or two?
Yeah, one pump is about 4 transdermal milligrams, and it's like usually like a 4-hour duration. So, and it's also such a nice aspect with the gels because that quick onset, you know, you can really easily and quickly gauge how one dose affects you. And if you do need more, you don't have to kind of wait, you know, 60 to 90 minutes like you would with an edible, or wait an hour or two with flower to really see if you should increase or use something else as like a layering product. So it's cool in that aspect, and you can mix and match the different gel pens. So maybe like, you know, for me, like I love 2 pumps of CBD and 1 pump of indica. Like I love that ratio there. And there's probably thousands of combinations. I'm sure if maybe there's a math wizard out there that can actually do that for me, but I don't know. So yes. All right, cool. And so the last of the transdermal products is definitely our fan favorite. And I love to call this product, this is our convert product. So in my 8 years with this company, I have heard of probably, I would say probably between like 200 and 300 people who have bought this product for their grandma or their grandfather or their mother or their father, who's never used cannabis, who never wanted to use cannabis, but now is a convert. So this product holds a special place in my heart for sure. So the transdermal compound is a balm. It's a beeswax mango butter based balm. It is mentholated, although we do have a non-mentholated version as well. And this is a transdermal that you put wherever you need it. So unlike the first two that have that very specific direction, this product is a little more free flowing, and you can put it wherever you need to. So some common uses, you know, menstrual cramps and endometriosis, IBS and IBD, colitis, arthritis, plantar fasciitis, back pain. The list really goes on and on with this product. We have a few different ratios. 1-to-1 CBD to THC, which is awesome for inflammation. We have a 10-to-1 CBD rich, which can be really good for nerve issues. And then we have a formula version, which is non-mentholated and also contains CBG. So this one can be incredible for those skin issues we were talking about earlier. So psoriasis, eczema. We've had some people that have saw benefit from using it for stretch marks, which is incredible. Hyperpigmentation, scarring, things like that. But you can also use the CBG in there. It can be amazing to for GI inflammation as well. So lots of really cool uses there. All right. And then last but not least is our topical product. So this is one of our earliest products. So this is the Muscle Freeze. And the Muscle Freeze is like a CBD infused iteration of a BioFreeze or a Benkei. So it's that really kind of same consistency, that like aloe gel or like serum BioFreeze consistency, but it has the amazing benefit of CBD infused into it. So in California here, we have a couple sizes. The larger one is a roll-on. The smaller one is a squeeze. So definitely heavy on the eucalyptus and the menthol. So you get that really nice instant cooling effect. And then you also get the benefit of CBD, which can be amazing for skin, like Candace and I talked about earlier. So insect bites, mosquito bites, like the itchiness, redness, and swelling, sun or wind burn, things like that. And we also have people that use the Muscle Freeze as kind of like a Vicks vapor rub replacement. You know, hello respiratory pandemic, anyone? And yeah, and then of course, again, for those more kind of like superficial aches and pains, tightness, things like that, it's really nice. Like at night, I'll throw my hair up in a bun and just like cover my neck and shoulders with it before I go to bed, and I just kind of like feel my whole day decompress. So definitely one of my favorite products. And I think, again, kind of one of those convert products. It's definitely like a familiar delivery method. People know what BioFreeze is outside of the cannabis space.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it being a topical and rather than a transdermal, you know, it's just kind of like super friendly for newer users and more experienced users alike. So, So that actually covers it for all the products today. I didn't get into our consumables or inhalables as we're focusing on the transdermals and topicals. So here's all of our socials. If you guys want to follow us at all, like I mentioned, our website is full of great information, and we have a lot of really cool, exciting products coming out here in the next months, and we'll actually have a new look to our brand as well, which I'm super excited about. So yeah, lots to come. Definitely follow us to stay abreast. So I will, I can pop over to see if there's questions. I do see a couple in this feed. And yes, we do have a hemp CBD line that we ship to Virginia. It's called Mary's Nutritionals. And it's a lot of the same products that we talked about today, plus more, but made with really high quality Colorado grown CBD. And those can ship to any of the 50 states, I believe.
That's great. Can you guys ship that international too? Because I know we had some people from New Zealand and from like the Caribbean that were watching. So that may not be something you know, but just out of curiosity.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's every single country, but I do know that we can ship internationally. The website should say it on there for you. And I'm sorry that I don't know offhand, but I would say more than likely we can probably ship to you.
That's great. We had another question too about the transdermal carriers, and if you could expand on if you know what like some of the carriers are. I know a lot of people like think the general rule is if it's like alcohol based that it's a transdermal. So if you can also like clarify that.
Yeah. So alcohol, something that's alcohol based does not necessarily mean that it's transdermal. So for us, we do have, like I mentioned earlier, we do have different transdermal carriers for each one of the products. So with the transdermal patches, the transdermal carrier blend is propylene glycol, aka PG, which is completely safe and very, very common in topical and transdermal products. It's also sunflower lecithin as well as oleic acid. And there's also the menthol in the transdermal patches, which helps to open up the pores so that the transdermal carriers can work even better. With the transdermal gel pens, it is a pharmaceutical carrier called VersaPro. And then with the transdermal compound, it's the menthol for opening up the pores as well as oleic acid too.
Wow. Yeah, you guys, like you mentioned before, have been leading this in the industry for a long time. I remember when I actually met your two founders many, many years ago. We were on an episode of the Doctors TV show together, and they were wearing the patches. And it was the first time I'd really seen this in the cannabis industry because we were still very new into all the different medicinal products. So you guys have definitely been working on this for a long time and innovating and always creating better adhesive and better carrier agents and better formulations. I love like your new formula line that just came out that it has a combination of all the cannabinoids. And which is interesting too, is like the tincture and the patches and the balm or the transdermal compound all have different ratio of the of the cannabinoids too. So it's not just the same ratio. So if you're looking for a specific one, you can look at the 3 different options to see which one comes closest to like what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, in California, we have, I think, 35 SKUs, and you can mix and match all of those. So we have a lot of people that will do that, or they'll mix our products with other types of cannabis as well. Maybe like we have a lot of folks that just like really love flower, and that's their go-to, but sometimes need, they want that, like they want more of a CBD effect, or they want CBN along with it to kind of amplify the effect. So we just really we really do believe that we have a product for everyone. And I think that really has been a fundamental of our success.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the education and all the community work that you guys do here at the Pharmacy Santa Ana. We did a senior shuttle, and you guys have always been participating in that in the past. So, all about getting out there and talking to people and educating about cannabis. Because I think topicals and transdermals are for everybody. Like you said before, no matter what you do, this is something that you can add into your regimen when you're having those particular days, or whether you want to just try a different method to keep your consumption needs down, like we were talking about, and save money and use less cannabinoids. So a lot of benefits here. I always say, before you, dedicate yourself to one method, try all the different, see how they affect you, and use them in your toolbox appropriately.
Yeah. Well
And I'm
said.
really And I'm really excited too to see the rebranding. I love your packaging. I always have. I think it's very, modern and subdued and, high end looking. But I'm really excited to see what you guys have coming out as well.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm hard to impress. So,
Well, you have impressed me as always. You taught me a couple things that I actually didn't know, about the transdermal patches sticking to the fat and so on. And I know everybody watching as well has picked up some things that will help them become, better informed cannabis consumers. So thank you so much for being with us today.
thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everybody out there. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you guys all for spending some time with us today. I hope that something that we shared with you today will help you become better informed cannabis consumers and that the information we shared will help you find relief. Until next time, everybody stay well, take care, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.